Basically are about providing kinesiology balances, and there's also stuff in there about taking a client history. If you look at, has everyone got a logbook they can look at? You'll notice that in the first thing you have is if you look on page 6, you've got the client case history. This you do, obviously, when you start you only do this normally when you start a new client, so you don't do this every balance. So this is part of the initial balancing, initial part. And so this is where you talk to them, find out what their, any medical history. And at the bottom it says reasons for kinesiology balance. So they're basically their issues. Now, they might give you a number of issues they want to work with, and you might work with one or two. I was just talking to Paul before, and he mentioned he had a client with a cough, then wanted to move on to something with eye issues. So they're both separate issues, but they might end up being the same cause. You don't know. Okay. And then you've got the balance plan on page 7, and this is basically from their issues and the balances, you might develop a little plan. For instance, you might decide, they've got, issues with their digestive system. I want to balance their solar plexus chakra, their stomach meridian, and maybe their muscle meridian, stomach meridians, and 8 extra meridians for whatever reason. And you write that as your plan, because part of the things that you have to do in the vet system and how they make you do kinesiology is you have to develop a plan, which means you have to basically develop an idea of what you want to be balancing over a period of time. And we put here 4 balances. And so in here, for assessment purposes, we're saying up to 4 balances. Now, you mightn't do 4 balances per client per issue. So each one of these is the same client with the same issue. If you do the same client with a different issue, obviously you don't have to do the client case history again because you've done it, but you would start a new set of balances. Balance 1, balance 2, balance 3. Okay. Okay, does that make sense? All right, everyone's going, oh my God. We're videoing this, we'll put it up on somewhere. Then you've got the balance record, okay, which the client 1, balance record 1, that's on page 8 and 9. Now, you'll notice when you pick your balance, we've got all this powers of stress information. And in NK, and what you'll notice when I'm doing demonstrations, I use whatever is the powers of stress to help me interpret the balance. And that's why we want to note down, because later you use that information. Sometimes you use it during the balance, but at the end when you have the post-balance discussion, which you do at the top of page 9, it says post-balance analysis, discussion and recommendations, which could include referrals. Okay. Then recommendations and referrals given at time of balance, including review the balance plan. Now, we already had the balance plan at the case history. This is where you would review that and say, oh, well, this came up, we had a lot of stuff about, them feeling insecure. I think I want to do the base chakra might be good now. So I want to include that in the balance plan next and then push the other ones down. Okay, or we might want to do the base chakra and the throat chakra because they're not communicating very well. So you review the previous plan.
So if the plan stays the same, you just...
Yeah, you say, okay, then you write, I've plan reviewed, no changes. So, just write no changes to balance plan, which shows evidence that you've reviewed the plan, but you haven't changed it. You can reviewing means you may change it and you may not. It's what...
Looked at it,
yeah.
You've assessed it.
But because in the units of competency, you've got to show that you've reviewed balance plans. It's in there, and it appears all over the place. So they want to have it review. For us as kinesiologists, always working with priority, it's kind of like, we get an idea of a plan, but because of the way we work, we're always finding what's priority anyway. So it could be totally different. But this is what they require us to do. And so we're required to assess you on it, and you have to show that you can do this, and that's part of competency-based assessment, means you have to prove you can do it. It's not A, B, C or D, it's not graded, it's you can do it or you can't do it yet, which is competent, not yet competent, are the only two results you can get. Then you've got at the bottom, follow-up discussion at time of next balance. So maybe it's been a week or 2 weeks or a month and they've come back, and how did you go with that last balance? Oh, blah, 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 blah. This has happened all of a sudden, I really feel good with me, but I've lost all my creativity. And you go, oh, we have to review the balance plan again. Now we want to do the sacral chakra. Do you see what I mean? So again, another place to review the plan. And this is because you have to actually show that you're reviewing a follow-up session, previous balance plans. Okay? Then you've got, so there are all the steps. That's what you're required to do. Over the page on page 10 and 11, you've got the assessment, 30 points of assessment. Now, for consistency of performance, you actually have to get a tick and evidence of doing each one of these 3 times. I mean, that's all actually you're required to do. The rest is just us getting you to get in the habit of recording your balances, and and at the moment we're probably over-assessing you. Next year when we go into the online-based assessment system where we'll be assessing these with a tablet, the assessors will be doing it on a tablet, and we'll be actually breaking it up into 4 parts, but it's the same 30 points. So there'll be the initial phase, the balance, the balance review, and then the handle complaints effectively. I couldn't really put anywhere, I just made that by itself because, one thing you're not really getting here is complaints. So at some point you're going to have to do like either a role play of handling complaints or actually get someone really pissed off with you in class.
Bring in your ex for a balance.
Yeah. Do you trying to get me pissed off?
Sorry.
Okay.
So Hugo, can I just clarify, across the course of this book, you're looking for evidence of each of those
30 points
acknowledged 3 times.
Exactly.
So you could actually have a client that you do 4 balances on that you don't actually get those boxes assessed.
Yeah. Well, and you
as long as they're covered 3 times
at some point
across the length.
Yeah. So that's why we're actually going to break it up into 4. So there's, the initial session, you'll do these steps like take the client history, determine client's eligibility for service, all those initial, they're all initial things. But in a follow-up balance, you don't have to do that. So you'll only do that at an initial. So it means you have to do it at least 3 new clients. Okay. And some, develop a balance plan. Well, you do that in the initial phase. So you develop a balance plan. But then you've got review previous session plans. You can only do that in a following session. Do you know what I mean? But you also have to review at the end of the balance, as well. Because in the provide kinesiology balance, it's got review the plan just after the balance. Then you've got review previous balance sessions. So you're asked to do both. Okay. Yeah. And so does that help you understand? Is there any questions? Yep.
One thing I was probably getting a little bit into this, but what I was asking or thinking of this morning was when you going to do a chakra hologram balance on someone.
So is this about the learner logbook?
No, it's not.
Okay, let's just finish this and then we'll get to that. Is there any questions about the logbook? Yes?
No.
We have to have the same issue, or across the 3 with that one person.
Yeah.
So if they come back, you just said, if that's okay, how do you deal with
Well, then that's done.
Oh.
Then you have to start a new set of, balance 1 issue. Then you leave it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because so if the client goes, say you're going balance, say I've got a cough, for example, and you do 2 balances on that and they want to work with their eyesight, then you go to client 2 balance 1. and start. Okay, now we're doing.
I just thought we had to have 3 on the one person.
No,
So
see,
that's confusing me.
yeah, that's right. Well, that's why we're clarifying now. Okay.
So you can do one client for your whole book.
Technically, but you wouldn't. It wouldn't. No, you can't because you wouldn't take
Oh,
a client
Client
history 3 times, would you?
yeah.
So you have to take a client history 3 times. So you have to have at least 3 clients.
Right, okay.
Okay. So it's the same for each set. It's per client per issue. Okay.
So
Yes.
if you're finding that you're only doing 2 on each, does that cover it like the 3?
Well, you still can review the previous session plans.
Yeah.
You have to review a previous session plan. You have to at least go to a second balance for the same issue, don't you?
Yeah.
We put 4. I just put 4 in there as a kind of an average, you know, because often, you know, if a client comes with an issue, say let's do 4 balances, a good deal to make, and so we're going to do 4 balances. So it helps you see how the issue changes over the 4 balances, rather than say I only do 2, then look for the next one.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I could tell you to do that, and it would be compliant and would meet the rules. But I think it's a better education if I'm telling you do 4,
Yeah,
because then you get to review the same session plans with the same client and the same issue a number of times. Then you start to really get a feel for it. So I'm asking you to do at least 4. Yeah, Paul.
One more thing. If does say you had a client in there as one of your 3,
Mm-hmm.
does that client have to be someone from the group?
No, but it's supposed to be supervised.
yeah.
And so that's where it comes into it's important with the practice, you know, and so we have these classes, but then doing practice evenings because you have to be observed doing it, okay? Because they're observation checklists. The assessor has to observe you, or actually, you know, I think with these groups, it's okay we're there because what I do is I talk to you and I find out how you did it, you know, and we discuss it. So if I haven't watched you do every exact little step, I'm okay with that, but it's supposed to be in a supervised session, okay? And that's why the practice evening is important. And we're going to be changing the structure. Next year we get a new diploma and the whole structure. We're going to completely revamp the structure, looking at what's worked and what hasn't worked with the current system. And I think there's been quite a few issues have come up over the last couple of years, and we're going to address them with the new diploma. And one of the things we're going to have in there is compulsory practicum, probably weekends, which will be included as part of it, and you must attend it, where we won't be teaching you this stuff, but we'll be supervising you.
Given that the diploma, for most of us, will probably take a significant amount of time,
Yeah.
what would your call for us at the moment be? Many of us are looking at what we're doing next year.
Yeah, well,
do you recommend we go into the old?
Well, it'll be easier for you if you go to the old diploma because it's connected to this one. And then if you want the new one, when the new one comes out, we'll have a gap assessment for the people who want to upgrade to the new one. I would recommend that because...
What's the difference between the old and the new?
Just there'll be different units, different criteria. I mean, for instance, you're going to have 140 balances logged in the new one. So part of the reason is that we're doing this. Now, they don't have to all be supervised. You just have to show evidence of 140 balances and over 30 different clients. Okay? So I'm actually setting you up for it with these logbooks because you just present these logbooks, there's your evidence, you know, and then you've done it.
So with the current diploma, if you enrol in that, there won't be a compulsory need to roll over into the new one?
No, you'll have a certain, when they change, there's I think 18 months after when we transition, that's when the institute says, okay, we've got the new one now, that means we can't take any enrolments in the old one. And what happens with the new people who are enrolled in the old one, from that point they've got 18 months to finish. Then if you need to take longer, as long as we've got a good reason to justify it, we can extend it, but you've got to have a reason. You know, it's not just like, I was pretty lazy and I just couldn't get off my butt. That's not good enough. But if it was like my wife was really sick and I had to spend 8 months caring for her and I couldn't do it, well, that's a fair enough reason, you know. And it also it has to not disadvantage the student as well with the transition. If you want to go to the new one, you can, but we won't force you, because the disadvantage would be that it would probably cost you more. So that's a disadvantage to the student. So then, you know, we have to acknowledge that and be completely upfront. If you want to do the new one, this is what you need. With how the vet system works, I would recommend it, you know, at some point. But what I would do for you guys is I'd get the old one, and then at some point when you feel okay, come and do the gap assessment, which you won't really have to do. You probably won't have to do any more courses. It'll probably just be some assessments, but we haven't figured the structure. We might be adding in some nutrition and immune courses, so you would need to do those, but, you know.
How does that affect you as a practitioner, a working practitioner, whether you do the old one? So if you don't do the new one,
yeah,
how is that going to affect
I
you?
don't think it will, because the thing is, the standard, say, with all the health funds, and all the, say, with the AKA membership, is that you've got a HLT diploma of kinesiology.
Okay, so that's not going to change.
That shouldn't change, okay? But as I said, you know, with the whole issue, one of the big issues in the vet system is currency and all this. You know, you might find after a few years that you might want to have the new one. People might start asking for it. You just don't know. But
you can do the bridging.
Yeah, we will have a bridging assessment. Absolutely we will, because, you know, and that's why we're doing all the work now, setting up the assessments, so we can have all the assessments in our electronic system, and then we have to do it all again. So what I want to do is then map our old assessments. We're going to map into the new one, so the new students are still going to be doing the same assessments. They still have this, even though it's split into 4 parts, but then they'll have other assessments that you don't have, and they're the ones you'll have to do to actually get the diploma. And I don't know what it's going to look like. I've got no idea, because they have not brought out the you know, I've seen and I've got an idea, but we'll have to map it all and everything. It's a lot of work, really.
But as it stands now, if we do the diploma next year, then there's really not going to be any changes as far as...
No. And I would recommend you guys, if you just want to have one diploma, get your certificate for now and get enrolled in the new one, and before we transition, because once we transition, you will not have the option to enrol in the old one. We're not allowed to take the enrolments, and then you'll have to do the transition, the gap assessments. But even then, with people who've got the Cert 4, we'll have gap assessments for them too, because we'll know what you've done.
Yeah.
Okay, and so we'll have, oh well, you've got the diploma assessments. You know, it'll be more than the people who've got the diploma, but we'll still offer it to our graduates.
Just touching on that, Hugo, the diploma next year will only be here.
Yeah, that's right. But we will be offering. We've set up. You can thank Kendall for this. We've set up a webinar system. And we'll be happy, not the chakra courses, as you've got the experience of this weekend. I feel that you should come for those. So the 2 chakra courses, I ask you to come here. The other courses, I'm happy to do with a webinar. And if you guys, you know, preferably set up in a place where you are together, so you can practice, and we can keep the lines open during the practice time. So if you've got questions, you can talk real time. And Mari might be interested to come and do some support for you, you know. And if not, well, we're here and I can talk to you in real time. You can phone me if I'm not by the computer like this. So we've actually trialled that this year, and we even had a woman from Canada attend the nutrition course, and she'd been waiting for years, but she just got herself pregnant, so she couldn't come over, and so she was so happy to be able to do it by webinar.
And it worked well?
It worked well, and we've had people from Sydney, doing some courses by webinar. Kendall did some from Brisbane, and it's working, you know, because you actually see the PowerPoint on your screen, and if you've got a data projector, you can set it up and project it so you can see it quite large, and then I can see you. Every person that's there I can see, and you can ask questions in real time and everything like this. So.
What do you need to set it up? Just the internet, basically?
Just internet, yeah, and you've got a computer. Or you don't even need a computer. There's apps for your phone. It's called Zoom. You know, you can do it on your iPad, your iPhone, Android. You could sit in a lounge in an airport and do it, you know, on your phone and put your earphones on and watch it, you know. But yeah, well, that's why I'm asking that they form little groups, and because then you can like practice together, you know, because it's important to go, okay, now you've got an hour and a half practice. What happens when someone's by themselves, they've got no one to practice, so they go and do something else.
Yeah.
But if you're in groups and you're practicing and I can see you, it's okay. Now, it's not really appropriate for the beginning classes, and I really feel the chakra courses you should come because of it's just, they've got a different quality to them, and I would prefer you to be here and sit in the energy of here, and because it's, you know, it's really one of the core foundations of NK is the chakra work, and so that's all I'm asking you. That'll be 2 courses next year. You can come here. The other ones you can do them up in Rocky. You know, get in your little groups, and you book in the same. We'll send you up the manuals beforehand. Yeah.
Is it possible to timetable in, if you know in advance when those webinars are going to be, maybe a short follow up with our
absolutely
teachers? You know,
yep, and I wanted. That's another plan we've got, is actually to do online tutorials, like, and so I can do them from anywhere. Like I can be in Europe or America, because when I'm travelling I'm away, but I can still set up. Okay, we're going to do a webinar at this time, and you know I can say it's in Queensland time, New South Wales time, this time, and I'm on European time, it's that time for me, and we'll just, you know, 1 or 2 hours tutorial. And that's one thing that we've got feedback, especially in the advanced diploma and the diploma, that some of the students weren't feeling so supported, and because of this issue of distance and stuff like that. And so if we have a prac night here, for instance, there's, you know, but even when we have prac nights, you can zoom in, so I can watch you practicing and you can ask questions while you're practicing. So that's the whole idea. That's still supervised. So you could use those in your logbooks, you know. They're still supervised. You'd have to just send them down to me so I could mark them. Yeah. And for you guys in Rockhampton, I'm happy for Mari to do the assessments up there. I think that's fair, you know. Oh, you're not in Rockhampton. Where are you?
I'm from Harvey Bay, so I go down to Flyby or down to Joe.
Would that work in Sunshine Coast in Brisbane?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so
yeah, and it's going.
Webinar, we could then go to like a supervised practice.
Yeah, well, you could just go to your friend's place.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I could be sitting here. Anyone who wants to come here and actually physically be here, fine. But anyone else, if they want to, they can just, you know, as long as you've got 2 people together for practice, you can say, okay, we're going to zoom in, and we just set it all up here. I can even have you sitting up there on the screen, and you know, I've got my little webcam that rotates and zooms in, and you know, I got in it. They couldn't even buy it in Australia. I had to buy it in America. It's one that moved.